Hey y'all, hey, we are back for another view of All the Queen's Men. We're on season 4, episode 8, entitled You Got Served. Okay, let's jump into it. This is the season finale, if I'm not mistaken. This is the season finale, and so we're just gonna jump right into it. We see Quincy, and he presents the paternity test to Babyface, letting him know, like, you is my daddy. Like, I did the paternity test. You my father. Like, stop acting like that. And he denies that he is, in fact, Quincy's dad. He's like, what are you talking about? He's like, listen, my mama's name was Chanel Johnson. And Babyface is like, I don't know no Chanel Johnson, Jackson, Peterson, Watson, Davis. None of them ladies. You're not my dad. You're not my kid. You're not. You're just not. And so Babyface still doesn't want to admit it. He claims he doesn't know no H word by that name. But, like, just talking real greasy. And that would have got you slapped again because don't play with my mama. For real, for real. Either way, he's going to continue to deny that baby throughout this whole episode. And that, of course, that's going to plant a seed of hatred. And that's going to grow during this episode. All right, so D.A. Rods and D.A. Davis calls Naima back in. That is the lab tech that was drugged at Eden. And they apologize to her because, remember, they're burying this evidence now, which happens quite often in the legal thing. So don't even think this is just TV magic here. It happens all the time, especially when it comes to black and brown folk. I just had to get on the soapbox for 2.5 seconds. Either way, this whole burying evidence just so we can get a conviction happens quite often. Either way, they call Naima back and tell her, like, hey, we apologize. The lab mixed your results up with someone else's and, gone on back to work. We sorry about that. Sorry for any inconvenience. That's my bad. She's like, I knew it. Like, I knew it. And I don't even do drugs. Like, I knew something had to be wrong. I appreciate y'all. Like, she runs into D.A. Davis's arms and gives her the biggest hug she can muster up. And so now the plan is in action to bury this evidence and to get a conviction by any means necessary. And so basically they're trying to cover their tracks by burying, like I said, her results and all that good stuff. So Madam and her lawyer are probably going to be smart enough to figure that out. Hopefully, but maybe, definitely not before what's going to happen by the end of the episode as far as her place being rated, but they'll figure it out, I'm sure. Okay. Madam gets to, I guess let's just call it like a pre-trial hearing, right? And she's in her black and white mink coat and she's looking at D.A. Davis and D.A. Ross like, ugh. And there's so much paparazzi out there and media outlets and all these people. And she was like, I'm really just mad that y'all didn't even bother to get dressed up for the cameras and the publicity that's out here. How y'all doing? Like, yeah, I showed up. Let's get this over with. And her lawyer enters a plea of not guilty, of course. And then the gallery goes wild. The gallery is cheering. Think about it like this. If you've ever seen John Q and remember, like, all of the people that he held hostage showed up to the court and they were in the gallery and they, I don't know, I think they said he was not guilty on some of the charges. And the people that he held hostage were like cheer for him. It was like people room for the underdog type situation. Like, yeah, this person got a couple flaws, but we don't want to see, them go down in the system. So whatever. Either way, we got a trial date set for the 11th of whatever month. And so we're going to be in fact finding and all that stuff up until that date. It seems to be a quick and speedy trial, but this is what we're now having to deal with. Babyface goes to see Madam, and he is there to try to convince her to get rid of Quincy. And he don't even care if the paternity results are true. Maybe yes, no, maybe he don't care nothing about that. He just wants Quincy gone. Which my theory is that he may not want Quincy gone because he knows that he's a horrible person. Like that one lady that got unalived by his hands or by accident. Him just being a user, just using people up for money and all the things he's had to do to survive. He's probably embarrassed of who he is as a person. Honestly, like come on, look at Babyface. Who would pay him as Father of the Year? Even though Quincy tells him within the episode, like, hey, I don't even want to child support. I don't even want nothing to do with that, my boy. I just want to, get to know you, learn stuff about you, just figure out like how we ended up here, like what's going on. And Babyface wants to be the tough guy. He wants to hold up this tough persona, and he's just gonna keep it going, even though Quincy comes in peace. Honestly, like once it's all on the table, he's coming in peace. Now, the way he went about it to get the results may not have been the most peaceful, but if you went 18, I don't know, how old is Quincy? 21? Let's just say 21 because I don't know. I forgot his age. But if you go 21 years of your life not knowing who somebody is and operating under the assumption that, hey, maybe they didn't want me, maybe they left me, I don't know what the dynamics are. Maybe this was the best way because, hey, you walk up on this person and be like, yeah, you're my dad. give me your DNA. It's Babyface. He already got an attitude. He probably be like, get out of my face. For honestly. But either way, we'll deal with it next episode, I'm sure. And then he tells Madam that she needs to choose him or Quincy. He gave her an ultimatum as if he's Tommy or Blue. Like, he was like, listen, it's me or Quincy. Straight up. And Madam was like, let me remind you, Quincy brings in way more money than you constantly. He hasn't even been here as long as you. Not only that, he has multiple VIP clients a night like that. You're not going to stop my money. And you've been slacking ever since you moved in with Tandy. So you should really be thankful. And also, you should not be giving me ultimatums because I don't take too kindly to threats, pseudo or otherwise. And so he's like, all right, Madam, like, okay, I can't change your mind. Whatever. So that plan didn't work. So I guess he's got to keep up this tough guy act to maybe piss Quincy off so much that he's going to leave. It's not going to happen. It's going to have a totally adverse effect, but whatever. All right. The psychotherapist takes Blue outside to try using a bow and arrow as another form of therapy, as an unconventional means to get her to feel what she needs to feel so that she could process it and move forward. And so we got some targets out there to line up for some practice, and the arrows are pretty close. When you're not that skilled, the target's going to be a little closer to get you into the muscle memory of being a good shot. And so Blue is kind of insulted at the fact that, hey, my targets are really close to me, and why would you do that? I was a sniper in the Marine. Like, when I was a Marine, I was a sniper. So are you trying to insult me? She's like, nah, it ain't even about the distance. It really ain't even about the exercises. It's about getting you to hone in on those emotions and be able to process through them calmly. It's about being able to refocus and breathing through the motion and the trauma of it all, while also, being able to maintain your composure, much like a sniper would. So she's taking her real world experience and applying it to her mental processing. And that was beautiful to me. That now a real psychotherapist would probably be like, this is probably one of your safest option. But hey, here we go. Either way, she's trying her best, and she was like, okay, well, tell me the story about your friend that, ended up getting killed in battle. She was like, well, we went out there and they started shooting, or whatever it was. Like, she started telling the story while shooting one arrow at a time. But with each arrow, she's losing focus. She's actually not maintaining her composure. She's shaking. She's starting to miss. Like, she's breaking down by having to recount everything that happened with her I don't know what they call the Marines. I know Battle Buddy's going to be Army. Wingman's going to be Air Force. I don't know if you are a fellow Marine, current, retiree. Otherwise, what would you call your compadre? I don't know what you call them because I'm, all I know is Air Force and Army. Air Force overall. Okay. Either way, her compadre, so to speak, she's trying her best, and she's ended up in tears, and she, admittedly, she folds, and she tells him, like, this man has been unalive next to me, and I'm sitting here trying to process, like, what to do when I went to his family. And unfortunately, she fell into a different F when it comes to fight or flight or those different responses. She froze. She folded up. She could not do nothing. She didn't do what she was trained to do, ultimately. And so when it came time to break the news to his family, she also folded. She didn't have the words. She couldn't do it. That was her friend. All she could think about was her friend and how his family was going to be affected. And so she's falling all the way apart. Mind you, so this is in the middle of a deployment, in the middle of gunfire, bullets waving past your head, and you have to process all this stuff while all of this is happening around you. And so I don't think that anybody would hold her accountable, for the human coming out of her. Like, yeah, you're in the war zone. Yeah, you're trained to go. You're trained to kill. Absolutely. Like, that's the nature of being in the armed services. But if you froze up, I mean, of course, all of this is easy to say in retrospect, right? Or to give that advice to somebody. But logically speaking, just from me to everybody else, logically speaking, this is my message here. Even with the greatest training in the world, people freeze. People, everybody doesn't fight. Everybody doesn't fight. Some people freeze, and that's okay. That doesn't make you any less of a person because you froze or because you decided to flee. You did what you needed to do for self-preservation. It's totally fine. That's all I'd say. I ain't nobody's therapist. I ain't never deployed nowhere, so take it with, take from that what you will. Either way, we see Blue and she loses track of, she loses track of her sanity in my mind. She loses track of where she is. In her mind, she is back on that battlefield fighting for her life while watching her friend be blown to smithereens, for lack of a better term, right? And she has that bow and arrow in her hand, and she turns it to the therapist. She doesn't even know. She's looking at the therapist. She does not even consciously know that that is who this lady is, and she's about to let this thing go in that lady's face. And the lady has to literally talk her off the ledge, like, hey, like, it's me. I'm your therapist. We're not in the war zone. It's okay. This is we are safe here. You are safe, has to remind her. And she's like, what's wrong with me? What's wrong with me? What's wrong with me? And of course, we know that it's post-traumatic stress disorder. She is in the thralls, and she's engulfed in that right now. And we need to work on getting that girl some real serious help. Now, coming down to safety, psychotherapist. This might have been unconventional to get her to feel what she needs to feel, but you was about to feel more than you have bargained for as well. So let's not do that again. Let's not put that in our bag of tricks. Let's not do that. Okay. Madam is a bartender. His name is Basir. Mr. Basir has been supposedly helping himself to not only items from the bar, but his drawer has been coming up short constantly. And we see Madam, and she is throwing darts. And you may think that there's a dart board behind him or near him to get him to talk or whatever it is. No, his mouth has been taped shut, and she is throwing those darts, and they're landing in his chest. She even throws one and it lands in his lip. And then Tommy offers her a Chinese star. Please forgive me if that's not the correct term, but the star thing to throw at him, and he cannot scream or anything because his mouth is taped shut. And that's just another example of like her depravity, or how creative she could get with her punishments for people. Of course he didn't perish, but he is like leaking because your skin's been pierced. And she tells him like, that's not gonna happen again, right? And of course he has to agree, because anything other than yes is a death sentence, right? Okay, cool. Now me, I would never show up to work again and then act like nothing ever happened. Like, you know what? I ain't gonna say nothing. I'm gonna go ahead and head out. I'm gonna go ahead and go down here to Wendy's to get me a job, and we're cool. Either way, Tony comes over with dinner for Amp, and they actually sit down and have some light conversation and enjoy the meal together. But then he kind of realizes that he's kind of letting his guard down. He's all giddy and, laying on her shoulder, like just real involved with his mom as if nothing changed. And then she's like, this is good. This feels good or whatever. He's like, listen, that credit doesn't belong to me. It belongs to Dime. She's the one that had the idea. And she's like, well, what have you been doing since you got out? And he's like, not much, just kind of hanging around, working at the club with my aunt, and you can see where she's affected. And he's like, was that a problem? And she's like, no, not at all. Of course she feels away because Madam has her son, in the club stripping like a common whore. I'm sure that's her thought process. And when she takes over the club, potentially takes over the club, where we see her conspiring here. When she takes over the club, then she ain't gonna have her baby boy in there working as no common stripper, I'm sure. Or this is her, she's never gonna get the club. Let's just be serious about that. But I'm sure that's in her grand picture of what she's planning to do. Okay. Trouble's outside of the club trying to sell drugs, child. And again, she's trying to supplement that income because she's on suspension. And turns out she finds a lady that wants to party, and she's buying whatever she's buying off of her, a bump, and buying all the different things off of her. And Trouble's like, okay, I see you trying to party or whatever. Like, what else you need? And she's just giving her the money. She's like, oh, okay, well, you trying to bargain with me? You got all this money. And she's like, yeah, dummy, I was trying to set you up. Freeze. And she's an undercover cop. So Trouble's looking at, I don't know, upwards of 20 years or so for selling narcotics. I'm sure that's going to be because of whatever she had on her and the amounts of whatever drugs she had on her. Either way, she has a lot of drugs on her. She'll have to figure out what to do about it. Okay. Madam confronts Blue because Blue has been missing in action all day, and this is not normal for Blue. Instead of Blue just telling her, like, listen, I'm having some mental challenges. I'm seeing a psychotherapist just to keep myself on, figure out how to process this so I can be on task when I am here. She just keeps telling her that she needs to run some errands. And so Madam's got a good eye on her, and we'll see later on the episode where she's going to put somebody on Tommy's trail, because with everything that's coming up with the court, we want to be sure, like, hey, let's make sure none of the DAs have gotten to her. Let's just, because she's not telling me anything. She's not giving me anything to work with, so I'm going to do what I got to do. All right. Babyface goes to Quincy, and he tells him, like, listen, his mama, okay, he's 18. His mama gave him Babyface's name, Peter Cottontail, Peter whatever the hell his name is, when he turned 18 for him to get that information. Let me stop here. That pissed me off when he told me that. Like, maybe, I could see, maybe you had a little one-night stand type situation, and you don't know who this man is for real. But for every day that the child, every day from birth to 18 years old, you know exactly who he was. And when he turned 18, you said, hey, here, happy birthday. Here's your father. The person that you may have needed this whole set of 18 years, no matter what Babyface would have decided to do with that information prior to him turning 18 years old, that would not have been on you. But mama, you gotta hold that too, because you waited till that baby was 18 to let him know who his dad was, and now he has to do the legwork to try to build a relationship and find this person and get the DNA test done. You should have figured out long ago and given him some sort of slate, not giving him that tasking of having to find it. Either way, here we are. Quincy's 18, and his mama gave him the information, and he was just here to figure out who his dad is. He told him, I don't want nothing. I just want to get to know you as my dad. And Babyface tells him, like, hey, honestly, I don't even want nothing to do with all this, my boy. Like, I'm fine where I am. There's nothing for you to know about me. And I think it's best that we continue being strangers. That's what he told him. And I would hate to say that he's that much of a douchebag that he just simply don't give a damn, or he would be faced with himself by looking at Quincy. You know what I mean? Like, you get to see the consequences of your actions every day by seeing the son that you ain't spent a day, hour, or a minute with prior to his 18th birthday. You probably wouldn't be able to handle that, seeing that every night at your place of employment. And not only that, are you looking at him, he's outperforming you. Like, so he could surpass you in this grand scheme of things, honestly. And so of course that's gonna do something for your manhood as well. So it's too much threat of what you have to face with and live with. So yeah. All right, D.A. Davis tells Trouble, like, hey, I want you to keep in mind that you on your third strike. And that's about 20 years that you might be facing. And Trouble knows to lawyer up. Like, give me my lawyer. I don't care about anything you're talking about. And then D.A. Davis reminds her, like, I'm going to do it. But what I want you to know is maybe you should start looking out for yourself, because you've been here for hours and hours. And your boss, Miss Madam, she has yet to even check up on you. She ain't showed up. She ain't did nothing. And it might be time for you to look out for yourself. So let me find out that Trouble is about to turn state's evidence. Now, you already know what Madam has the propensity for. You already know that you've escaped her punishment, death, honestly, for stealing that money, multiple times. She stalled you out. So I don't think it would be in your best interest to turn state's property. That's just me. But of course, my guess is that she probably will, because Trouble don't think as far as the mailbox. She don't think long term, so she's not going to think about any of that. She just thinks that begging is going to get her out of, whatever fate she could potentially run into. So, yeah. Okay. There is a client that Midnight has been seeing. I forgot her name. I'll figure it out. And she has been doing like all of this sexual fantasy fulfillment for her. And of course it's been a adult interaction. It's been consenting adults that have a predetermined agreement. You give me the money. I got the things for the money, right? Essentially, he has turned her all the way out, and now she is acting sprung, and she is looking for him in the daytime with a flashlight. It's given that she wants Midnight all to herself, like on some Fatal Attraction type stuff, and he's not having it. He's like, ma'am, I told you what this was from the jump, and I definitely agree. He told you from day one, minute one, hey, transaction, payment, transaction, payment, transaction, payment. That's all I'm willing to do, and that's just it. So now you get some people that feel like, oh, I could change your mind. If we hunch enough, I could change your mind. And that's definitely not the case. Okay, some lady comes into the VIP lounge kind of acting as if she is the new fluffer that's been hired. However, she is there to serve all of them. She served every single person that's back there. Everybody. She called all their real names. I didn't write them down because it was a lot of people. You know, all the VIP dancers that are back there. And then Tommy comes running in Madam's office to hide from the process server. And she's like, listen, it doesn't matter if she serves you or not. Like, she's going to keep going until she finds you. But I don't want to throw off. He was like, no, because I don't want any kind of dirt to be thrown on your name in that courtroom, you know, on my account. Like, I'm not even going to participate. And she tells Tommy, like, listen, she's going to serve you. Go ahead and let her serve you if she needs to serve you. I know you're solid. I ain't worried about you. And since I have you here, I'm going to need you to keep an eye on Blue. And he's like, well, what you talking about? Like, what's going on? And she's like, well, Blue has been acting real sketchy lately. And Tommy's like, do you think the cops may have gotten to her? She's like, I don't really think so. I don't really want to believe it. But I can't leave no stone unturned with everything that's happening with this legal case. Like, I just want to keep an eye on her, you know, make sure everything is on the up and up. So, you know, Tommy is going to take a lung out if Madam asks him to. So he's on it. All right. Rayshawn takes it upon himself to give Quincy the scoop on who Babyface actually is. I mean, gives him everything that Babyface has ever done to just him, right? And he's like, listen, you want to get to know him so bad? I don't think you should. Like, he's a horrible person. He pimped me out. He took my money. He took my car. He beat me up. Like, he did all these things for me unprovoked. Like, he ain't no prize to have as a dad. Just so we're clear, so we're on the same page. And now Quincy's like, well, that is messed up. Like, I didn't know he had the capability of doing somebody like that. And so Rayshawn is like, yeah, like he's horrible. And so now this information, like I said, it's kind of sparked like a Babyface hate group. And Quincy and Rayshawn are probably like the president and vice president at this point. And of course, there's going to be like, I don't know if they're going to try to take him out of here because Rayshawn, you already got one body under your hands. Or, you know, I don't know. I don't know what they're going to do, but I'm sure they're going to continue to hate Babyface. And that's going to manifest in the next episode. I mean, the next season. Okay. We see a dude named Gene. Now, Gene, y'all are going to have to tell me. I didn't go back, but I know he's early, All the Queen's Men seasons, like season 1 or 2. I feel like Madam took something from here. I don't know if it was the club or something to that effect. I've seen his face, but I cannot remember his story. Again, let me know in the comments when you recall. Gene has some prior dealings with Madam. I'm sure she effed him over. She did something to him. Well, it turns out that Gene knows Tony for however long. I thought that Tony may have been working with the concierge, and that's not completely ruled out, but for the time being, she's working with Gene, and they have some kind of plan that's in motion. And he tells her, like, hey, people are being subpoenaed to court, so of course she's going to go down soon. And these two fools are planning to take the club from right up under Madam, and they're excited about her potentially going to jail so that they can go ahead and take over the club. Again, doubt that that'll ever come into fruition, but we'll play along next season. All right, Trouble calls Blue to ask her to ask Madam to bail her out for selling drugs. And she's like, selling, like, Trouble, you always in something. Like, you ain't never just sitting down, shutting the hell up. You always in the midst of something. And she's like, listen, just tell her. She's like, well, where were you selling drugs at? Now she got to tell her where she was selling drugs at. So she tells Blue, I was selling drugs outside of Eden. And she's like, outside of Eden? Like, are you stupid or are you dumb? And so she was like, listen, of course it didn't go over well. She was like, girl, get off my phone. Madam don't want nothing to do. Get off my phone. Go about your business. And you figure it out the best way you can. And so, of course, that's going to be the last straw for Trouble. Because she always felt entitled. Like, oh, I did so much for you guys. And, you know, she knows a little bit more than the average bear that works there. So, I hope she don't turn state's evidence. But, post-C Black. This is very possible. Very possible. Okay. Renee is the lady that's giving, you know, pretty much Fatal Attraction to Midnight. She waited outside all night for him to get out for work, and he is less than thrilled to see her. And he's like, well, what do you want? She was like, can we go get something to eat? And he was like, no. If you want me to go sit down and have dinner with you, that's $500. If you want me to do, for every transaction, there is a monetary dollar value assigned. I told you that from day one. It don't change now. And she's looking all sad like a puppy. And he's like, well, anything else you need? When you show up with the money, I'll oblige you. But in the meantime, have a good night. And so she looked at him. She's like, was anything that we had real? He's like, no, girl. Again, I told you, this is all about money. The rest of it, I don't care about. And so, of course, now Midnight's going to have a Fatal Attraction type of thing going on. Okay. Lovett, the lawyer, is going over the case files just to make sure we're getting prepped for trial and all that good stuff, and realizes that the lab tech is still on the witness list. So, of course, they're going to need to investigate on why because, of course, she went to the hospital and there were tox screens and things that were taken. Why is she still on the list when she should be gone? She should be fired. So that's going to lead them back to the evidence being buried. Of course, that's going to be really good in getting the case thrown out on Madam's behalf. Okay. There's also a couple names on the list. Like she's not really sure if she needs to if she needs to tamper with said witnesses, but she gonna do it anyway. She told him like, hey, give me a copy of the witnesses, and he was like, listen, legally I have to warn you, like, hey, that's potential witness tampering. You know, there's a charge associated with that as well. Just keep it low key. Again, don't add no new charges. Don't do nothing. Don't say nothing. Just chill out. And she was like, listen, I got you. So she calls Smoke, and I think this is somebody that Tommy knows from my past life. And she's like, listen, I'm going to give you the name of this one person that's on the witness list. I want you to have fun with it, but I want you to do what you need to do and call me when the job is done. So I don't know who Miss Keisha is. I don't know who Keisha is. Now, if y'all know who Keisha is, tell me in the comments. But this is my guess. Remember, somebody stole money from her, and she went to the lady's mom's house and stabbed the mama in the chest, and so the mama is now deceased because somebody else took the money from her, right? Took the money out of the wall, and he beat up Dime. That guy. Is that Keisha? Y'all let me know. Who's Keisha? Either way, Keisha will no longer be with us in the next season, I'm sure, because Smoke is, a paid hitman, so to speak. Okay. DA Davis shows up with a warrant, and somehow she's gotten permission. She's gotten the judge to sign off on it for them to come in there and collect any evidence that they're going to be able to find that is going to help their case. And so Madam starts to freak out a little bit, and she's screaming, Tommy, 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 like, to get Tommy to come to her and see what's going on. Now I know that Madam is way more competent than to have anything incriminating in the house, but we'll see what happens next season. Either way, that is it. That's been season 4, episode 8. A whole lot of irons in the fire. I don't remember any of my predictions at the top of the season. There have been no big revelations. It'll be interesting to see if the concierge has kind of moved on with his life. I doubt it, because he spent a great deal of the episode not even being visible. You know what I mean? Like, we didn't even see him that often, so I think he'll make a resurgence. Fuego has been tracking down the people that did what they did to Sandra. Hopefully he doesn't find them and they tell him, like, hey, Madam put me up to it, and he now becomes state's evidence, because he should already know that Madam's up to it to buy his loyalty or whatever, but we'll see. He's in his emotions, so that could be a problem as well, because he's been subpoenaed. Everybody else should be good to go. Doc, they still got that shirt. Midnight, he now has a fatal attraction. So everybody got a little something going on that's going to happen in the next season. Either way, like I said, that's been season 4. Pretty good season. Really short. 8 episodes is really short for a season. Yeah. So let me know what y'all think about the episode, what y'all think about the full season. We'll talk about it in the comments. Like, comment, share, subscribe, or whatever it is that you feel like doing. And I'll see you in the next one. Peace.